Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter than I have been doing in the past, because I've noticed that I ramble a lot and get off topic and get distracted. I'm going to try to not do that. That being said, this is not a build guide. It is, however, the build I am most likely going to be league starting with. It's going to go over some early game stuff, but it's mostly focused on end game because I can just find a way to push through the campaign somehow, worst case scenario. Obviously, it's going to be martial artist. I've been talking about martial artist for over a week now, I think. At least since they revealed it, which I believe was more than a week ago. So it's going to be martial artist. And I'm going to be doing a build based on heavy stuns. Really all stuns in general, but particularly heavy stuns. And doing my best to be not using any weapon at all. Using hollow palm and face breakers. Not sure about the whole strength stacking thing. For more unarmed damage, I might just be like, hey, strength as like a secondary thing and get it for the more unarmed damage. We'll talk more about that later. What skill am I going to be using? Staggering Palm. Staggering Palm has a real fun thing where it dashes to enemies. It performs additional dashes to other primed for stun targets. That's not huge. It's mostly just that it's like almost like a little baby flicker, where instead of having to worry about power charges, you just have to worry about attack speed. 75% of base hurts a little bit, but whenever you do heavy stun an enemy, you also get to fire projectiles with your quarterstaff attacks for a short duration. Very nice. Especially with the Retreat Gem. The way the Retreat Gem works is that it supports skills which creates projectiles. And Staggering Palm doesn't create projectiles. Staggering Palm grants you a buff that creates projectiles. So, supported skills deal no melee damage, does not affect Staggering Palm. Please don't change this, GGG, I need this. But the supported skills deal no melee damage does not affect Staggering Palm, but the more projectile damage, if you have damaged an enemy with a melee hit, lasts 8 seconds or 2 seconds if you go up to Retreat 3, does affect the projectiles from Staggering Palm, so that is just a big damage upgrade, only for the projectiles, but it's still quite nice. I will of course also be using Devastate. This is free armor break, because I will be inflicting heavy stuns quite often, so I'll be able to fully break the armor of the enemies. There's probably more stuff I can do with that. I don't know. I'm just going to be using it for the broken armor. As well as while clearing, I will be having Impact Shockwave. I say while clearing as if I'm going to be swapping this out, but I am not. It is just that Impact Shockwave, since I'll be getting heavy stuns, will add a little bit of extra AoE. I might find this to be unnecessary. And if I do find this to be unnecessary, oh well. I will find some other supports. It's not like you only get 3 supports anyway, so I was going to have to find some more. As I mentioned earlier, I will be using Hollow Palm Technique. This will allow me to use these Staggering Palm, since it is a quarterstaff, without actually having anything. I have both of my hand slots empty. That means I'll be getting attack speed for evasion on my gear and crit chance per energy shield. There was fixed an issue in this upcoming patch. It wasn't providing bonuses to most skills that can be used with any martial weapon. That does not matter for me. And now it replaces your unarmed base damage rather than adding damage on top, which I think might be like a pretty sizable nerf, so that hurts. But we get face breakers, which, importantly, gives us 1% more unarmed damage per 5 strength and 1 armor per strength. That's nice. You can do a little bit of extra strength on top of this build, perhaps even endgame transition it into a strength stacker using Iron Grasp, because both Iron Grip and Iron Will affect Staggering Palm. Iron will affect both parts. Iron will, if you have Crown of Eyes, I must mention that. If you have Crown of Eyes or some other way to get spell damage to affect attack damage, I don't know if that exists, you can have this spell damage affect both parts of Staggering Palm. Iron Grip only affects the projectile, so you'd be getting a lot more damage on your projectiles. Of course, at that point, you have Face Breakers and Iron Grasp, and you'd have to have Crown of Eyes, which makes Hollow Palm much worse, but you'd be strength stacking at that point. That would be very endgame. You'd be getting most of your damage from that, and your other gear pieces could give you some evasion and energy shield still if you want the attack speed and crit chance. Now, of course, that's all good and well for clearing, but what do we do for bossing? Quite simply, if we use Facebreakers without Way of the Stone Fist, or if Way of the Stone Fist does not change the one-handed mace line of Facebreakers, we go Hammer of the Gods. We will be stunning enemies so much anyway that we will be building up a bunch of glory. You also gain 100% of the monster power as glory on heavy stunning, and it requires 20 glory to use, which means that against unique monsters, you will, on heavy stunning them, immediately be able to use a Hammer of the Gods. That's some big damage. Now, who knows, Facebreaker might switch away from maces, in which case we might get, say, spears. If we get spears, you go Wind Serpent's Fury. Is it as good as Hammer of the Gods? Probably not, especially because you need to generate frenzy charges to get the most out of it, but you can do something like Cull the Weak and just be culling your bells from Hollow Focus, which I will likely do. There might be other ways as well. Now there's a chance that on top of all of that, it's not one-handed maces, it's not spears, it's something like talismans. And if it turns into talismans, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I don't know what's good on talismans, so maybe I just piss and shit and cry a little bit, and then use some other random rare gloves and just ignore the whole Facebreaker for unarmed damage. But maybe we can be so lucky that Facebreakers get to keep the one-handed mace so I can use Hammer of the Gods, but just change this to unarmed damage per dex and like evasion per dex. That'd be nice, right? Right? I can dream, is the point. That's the general plan. There's no skill tree, 'cause this isn't a build guide. There's no, you don't get all your gem links. I can talk about the exact nodes I plan on taking. If Way of the Stone Fist doesn't mess up Facebreaker too much, I'm obviously taking that. For this particular build, I don't really need combo, but there is some stuff I could potentially do with that. If I do end up taking Way of the Stone Fist, I can do something along the lines of the Hammer of the Gods with Culmination, if I really wanted to build up a ton of additional... Actually, does Culmination... Culmination might not allow you to do already conditional skills. If that's the case, then... No, it should be able to work. So I can gain a bunch of extra combo to throw on Hammer of the Gods, which I will probably have the combo anyway, to give it a bunch more damage. Something like that. I could go Martial Master. I will be stunning a lot, so Way of the Mountain for some extra damage and or defense could be good. Hollow Focus if I need charges, which early it would be very nice to do Hollow Focus, maybe even end game, if I need charges from culling, or just the primed for stun, so I can always have the projectiles up even during boss fights. So Hollow Focus is most likely going to be taken early, potentially kept into the end game. Runic Meridians could be good depending on what Olroth's Legacy can give us and what all the new runes have. Hollow Form seems really cool, but I'm not sure it would be useful for this particular build, and Hollow Resonance would only be useful if I go full crit and don't have any other use for any other nodes. So, what would I take if Facebreaker is perfect for my build? Well, I take Hollow Focus, I take Fist of Stone, I most likely take Runic Meridian, and perhaps Martial Adept, but most likely Way of the Mountain. If Fist of Stone breaks Facebreakers, but I still want to use them because I determine that they are better than a rare pair of gloves, then I will go Hollow Focus, Runic Meridians, and most likely Martial Master and Martial Adept to give big combo damage from Culmination to whatever weapon I end up, or whatever boss killing skill I end up using, whether that be Hammer of the Gods, or perhaps I even just do Falling Thunder and find some way to generate power charges. That's my general idea. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this one short. There might be some stuff I am not thinking about with this build. Retreat might get nerfed. Like they might realize that that's not how they want Retreat to work, though I will say it is shown as a recommended skill gem for Staggering Palm. So it seems like it might be intended. Fun stuff, and obviously, again, with particularly base face breakers, we will see what Fist of the Stone face breakers, but with base face breakers, Iron Grasp and Crown of Eyes, super late game, once I have the fact that I need to use 3 unique armor pieces solved, I could pivot this into a strength stacker. I also saw they changed some stuff with crafting. I don't know jack shit about crafting, but I think they made it harder to craft super endgame items. Unfortunate. But remember when I said I was going to keep this one short and not get off track? That's what I'm going to do. Don't expect a build guide for this. But even though I just told you not to expect it, I'm going to tell you some words that might make you expect it. If everything goes good, not before release, but post-release, if the build feels good, I might make a build guide. Don't count on it, though.